Phew, it's windy. Not in here, but out there. Hi there, kids. Your old pal Stevie Coyle here at Mighty Fine Guitars, Lafayette, California, with another Friday noontime webcast. Dry your tears. I realize I'm a couple of minutes late, but wanted to take the appropriate time to check out something on this guitar that I thought was happening and is happening. It's a... Oh, hang on. Let me check and make sure you're all there, and me too. There. And there. Looks like things are happening. Good, good. Right. Right you are. Today's offering is a 2008 Martin 0028 VS. Now, well, you may ask, what the hell does that mean? Well, it's a Martin guitar, starting off. 00 means size-wise in Martin parlance, that's about the size of a classical guitar. So if any of you, like I, had a cheap classical guitar in the 60s or 70s, it's about that size, except cool. One of the most wonderful and awful experiences of my life was having coveted a new guitar, because I was getting better, and I thought, well, my folks might spring for a guitar. I was in high school. They might spring for a new guitar for me. I thought, oh, maybe they'll get me that one down there or that one at that store. There were a couple of stores in Salinas, California. Thank you very much. Apparently you've heard of it. There were two that I was coveting. One was a Loprinzi acoustic guitar, which was very rare at the time, and especially rare in Salinas. And another one was a Mossman out of Kansas, a big dreadnought, Mossman. And there was nothing under the tree on Christmas morning, nothing resembling a guitar. My dad, after everything had been opened and he saw my face, me struggling to kind of keep a smile on my face, Merry Christmas. He said, oh, wait a minute, there's something out in the garage. I just spotted it when I was out there taking out the paper. Although there wasn't usually a lot of paper that went out, because my mom was one of those save the paper, save the bows people. We were going to do a bumper sticker for her. Save the paper, save the bows. Very ecologically minded. But anyway, he had gone out there and said, oh, look what I found out there. And there was a guitar-shaped, wrapped-up package. I thought, oh my gosh, this is fantastic, unbelievable. And I opened it up, and it was a nylon-strung guitar. And I did a bunch of acting after that in theater companies and whatnot. Television, movies, perhaps you've heard of me, Stephen Coyle. That was the best acting job I ever did. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. I love it. It was an inexpensive classical guitar. Did not intonate well. The lining of the case was green like this, and that was pretty. But boy, oh boy, what an acting job. Anyway, back to, where were we? We were talking about this Martin 00 VS. How did I ever get off on that tangent? I blame the schools. So this is a spruce top, Sitka spruce top, East Indian rosewood back and sides, and the kind of the distinguishing feature of this one, aside from the fact it's about the size of a classical guitar, that poor cheap classical guitar that I had, which my folks pretty swiftly realized was not what I was into, even though they kind of said, we went into the store and, oh my goodness, it had this lovely mellow tone to it. I said, I don't want mellow tone, I want to rock, because I had been listening to lots of Ventures at that point, and from the records my dad brought home from the radio station. A story for another time. This is about that same size, so it brings back only slightly terrifying memories for me, sense bodily memories. But this has got that sound, steel strings. Some folks like nylon-strung guitars. For me, it's got to be steel. It just doesn't have the same stuff, the juice, the mojos are not the same. The distinguishing feature of this one, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by myself, is the width of the fingerboard. This is a very wide fingerboard. This is 1 7/8. Dreadnought guitar, the kind that we all grew up with, typally 1 11/16. OM style guitars, kind of medium-sized guitars, a size up from this, triple O, OM-ish, were either 1 11/16 or 1 3/4, 12/16. This is 2/16 up from that. This is 1 14/16, which is almost as wide as a 2-inch wide classical neck. You can go back and write this all down, because this will go, I'll post this to Facebook and you can go back and take notes. So the width of the neck sort of says to me, fingerstyle guitar. Fingerstylers tend to prefer a wide fingerboard because there's a little more real estate over there. When you're doing multiple things, if you're keeping a bass line going, if you're doing multiple things at the same time, a little extra space over here is usually welcome. Also, at first in particular, with a really narrow fingerboard, like on the Dreadnought so many of us grew up with, unless you grew up with a cheap nylon classical guitar, the fingerboard is much narrower, and it's much easier to misfinger notes, because as you're trying to play that note, especially on the bass side of the fingerboard, when you're trying to play that note, the flesh of your finger is leaning up against this next string until you learn how to perch your fingers properly. Anyway, so fingerstylers tend to prefer a wide fingerboard. Flat pickers and soloists, people that are playing lead guitar, and strummers tend to prefer a narrow fingerboard. You can play any kind of music on any guitar. This is true, but I'm just kind of going with the generalities that are generally accepted, hence the term. This guitar, even though it's from 2008, is essentially brand new. Low, low mileage, as they say. At this point, I would ask for your opinion. So many people say, well, when you're playing guitar, even in your Mr. Showbiz pose, like that, why don't you look up and smile? And I always think, I'm going to look like a grinning idiot if I smile for no reason in the middle of playing instrumental acoustic guitar. So I thought, what if, try this on for size, what if I made a little mask of myself? And it'd be my face, the same size as my head, big old Irish head. And I strapped it on so that it faced out while I'm looking down and seeing what the hell I'm doing down here and can play properly. I still have my smiling visage flowing out amongst the... What do you think? Is that a good idea? I think I know the answer. This one, I'll probably preview this for you again next week, because this might be a good time to demonstrate the difference between phosphor bronze strings and 80-20 bronze strings. These are phosphor bronze. Next week, in fact, I think I will, unless something else comes in that's of huge interest, I'll change these out next week, and you can tell if you like the sound better or worse. Play these two videos back to back, because they do stay up there forever, apparently. So if you like the sound of the phosphor bronze, or the 80-20 bronze that I'll put on for next week. Myself, I think I prefer 80-20 bronze for using the Eric Schoenberg principle of if it's smaller than a Dreadnought or a Jumbo, excuse me, probably want 80-20s. For a Dreadnought or a Jumbo, you probably want phosphor bronze. That's been kind of my maxim. Although, I find on my Alpha stage guitar, I prefer 80-20s. Go figure. But what I generally do with guitars in the shop here is go with the Eric Schoenberg principle of smaller than a Dreadnought or a Jumbo, go with 80-20s. I think it could be said, tell me what you think. Here's another opinion poll. I sort of hear phosphor bronze strings as being sort of scooped in the middle. Big on the bass, big on the treble, and that sometimes at the expense of the mid-range. Sometimes. It's sort of like pushing the loudness button that some of you might remember on our old stereos, and if people are buying those old stereos again these days. There was a button on there called loudness, and essentially what it did was it either scooped the mid-range or just bumped the lows and the highs up to accentuate those, essentially scooping the mid-range. That's kind of what I hear in phosphor bronze strings. Mostly. Not all the time. And in 80-20 strings, I hear more of an evenness from bass to treble. What do you think? Your opinion solicited and appreciated. Happy trails. Oh, what am I doing? 12-fret guitar, 12 frets to the body, which may be of interest to you and may be a stopper right there. 12 frets to the body, essentially, instead of 14 frets to the body, where the body would come in about here. What that does, in effect, is pushes the bridge down more in the middle of the lower bout, where the articulation is improved. Saturation, I think, is improved when the bridge is up closer to the sound hole as it is on 14-fret guitars, 14 to the body. But this has that fingerstyle-y feel to me. Lovely guitar. It's got that Martin sound. Whatever it is, I fancied, never tried it, but I fancy that in a blind taste test, I'd probably be able to spot the Martins, because there's something about the low mid-range. I don't even know what frequencies those are, just kind of those middle string sounds that kind of blooms and combines frequencies with the lower and higher strings. Gets this kind of fullness, even in a small body guitar like this. Now, if you have a dreadnought sitting in a closet that was always too big for you, but since you've gotten perhaps a tad more vintage and a tad perhaps wider, and you're not playing it, consider getting back to guitar. Those guitars were always too big for most of us. A dreadnought guitar is huge. In fact, when it first arrived on the scene, the first place a lot of people saw dreadnoughts was on cowboy westerns. And they said, what the hell is my cowboy hero doing? Gene Autry, Hopalong Cassidy, I think, played Gibson's. But what is he doing playing this comically huge guitar, a dreadnought? When he had been playing, perhaps this was the biggest guitar that got played on television, in the movies, on the newsreels, in the shorts, in cinemas. So even though a lot of people think of this, they say, oh, that's a parlor guitar. Well, no, not really. A parlor guitar is 2 sizes down from this, in Martin parlance again, which is the parlance lots and lots of builders use these days. Some guitars have, I think it's useful to think in terms of, in trying to describe guitar sounds. How do you describe sound? I think apart from 2 terms, louder and quieter, every term you would use to describe sound would be some sort of analogy, metaphor, simile. I think talking in terms of vowel sounds can be useful. This one sounds to me like oh or ooh. Another guitar might have more of a flat sound to it, not so much ooh-ness. It'd have an ah sort of sound to it. A or E, a wide-throated vowel sound instead of a tubular sound. Kind of fluty, kind of a flutiness to this. lovely guitar. How immensely playable. The setup is really nice. Light gauge strings are on here now, as they will be next week when I use the 8020s. Use a light gauge phosphor bronzes. And they feel great. The setup is really good. And like I say, looking at the guitar, low mileage. Dings and scratches, nothing nowhere. It's in fabulous shape. So if you would like to purchase a 15, 16, 19, how many years old? Lots of 2008. A lot of years old, brand new Martin guitar. I got one. It's this 00 VS Vintage Series. Kind of a V-shaped neck. It's got the neck profile is always of concern to folks. And rather than other Martin models, even a 00 Martin of a different series, this is the Vintage Series, this one's got a little bit of a V in the back. Because way back when there weren't truss rods, and to get strength into the neck, they kind of built a V shape into the back here. And this has got a bit of that. More pronounced the higher up the neck you go. But nothing in the way. Oh, goodness me. I haven't checked in to see who's here and to say hello and see if there are any comments or questions that need to be addressed right away. Hi, Christian. Howdy to all you folks up there in Yosemite land. Hi, Jeremiah. Slade is here. Jim Esposito. Yeah, Jimmy, you're strictly a phosphor man. A bit bright to you. Well, exactly. Perhaps it's just my increasing incipient total hearing loss that makes me prefer the 8020s. But I've always kind of preferred the sound, a little more even, instead of a big boomy bass. I play with a thumb pick, and Jimmy, you play with your bare thumb, and somehow phosphor bronze tends to get awfully bassy. I need to pull back, I find, on a lot of guitars, strung on phosphor. Some people eat Brussels sprouts. I would rather be sealed. No, I do not eat Brussels sprouts. Mike Nepper, 12-fret guy, neck a little too wide for me, but has the Martin Yeah, that's right. That's right. The sound. That's right. Kind of a vowel sound there. Hi, Clint. Great builder there. Clint Bear. Wonderful builder. Had a couple of his guitars come through, and maybe one of these days we'll get another one. You like phosphor bronze on smaller guitars. Fair enough. Fair enough. Good on you. Pat Bolton is here. Jim Passard is here. Bunny Barnes. Hey. Bunny, tout your 3-fer. Bunny's going to do a 3 for Friday. Bunny's got a great webcast. I don't understand the difference between casts these days. This, I think, is a webcast. Podcast is strictly audio, isn't it? And I've never understood what the pod part of podcast is for. To be continued. Steve Della Majora, there he is. Michael Ferrucci, fine fretted friend, you bet. Great. Hi, Nancy Paul, Terry Brigman. Go Cowboys. Excellent. Rich LaPena, all the way from Florida. Might be winning the faraway contest today. I'm not sure. Let us know where you're webbing in from. But it looks like Rich LaPena is nosing out ahead here, all the way from Florida. Austin, sorry, Danny, but thanks for tuning in. There's Johnny K. Kresich, very good. Barry Melton, the Fish of Country Joe and the Fish. He's right here, folks, and he's terrific. He's playing music and like crazy with Banana and all them guys. David Aguilar. Barry, don't hesitate to tout your next upcoming gig. Perhaps you're in the Bay Area. Tout away, folks. If you got stuff going on, this is your chance to get at least a few more sets of eyeballs on whatever you decide to type up here. I'll play a little bit more and then I'll turn you loose. in the county down. I just recognized what I was playing there. Sorry, that was for me. Whoever said little guitars don't have any sustain? Good heavens, it's still ticking. Well, there you are, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I've taken up a whole half hour of your lunch hour here. Do tune in next week when I'll try this out with the 80-20 strings instead of the phosphor bronzes that are on there right now. And I look forward to seeing you then. If you got any comments or questions, if you got any gigs to tout, any situations you'd like people to know about, a guitar's for sale, send them to me. I'll sell them for you. Take a look at the website, mightyfineguitars.com. It's getting updated. There's a couple of new guitars going up there, some of which are moderately fabulous. And the great thing about doing these little videos here is I can attach those to the listings on Mighty Fine Guitars. So in the next couple of days, today I'm hoping to get 3 or 4 posted there. If I can get my young web guru, get him out of HR and cracking on getting some new listings up there. Again, many, many thanks for tuning in on these Fridays. Do feel free to spread the word. Hit that share button if you like. And these videos get shared from the Stevie Coyle page on Facebook to the Mighty Fine Guitars page on Facebook, from thence to Instagram, and then to the Stevie Coyle music page channel. It's a channel over there on YouTube. So all of those places, feel free to tune in and pass these around in case you think of anybody that could really use one of the guitars that have been featured in the past year or so. Very good. Great to see you. Sim Salabim down the road. Till next Friday, all the best.